August 3, 2024, at 9:46 a.m., deputies from the Lakewood station of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department were dispatched to the intersection of South Street and Woodruff Avenue in Lakewood, California. The initial call reported a person armed with a knife, but before deputies arrived, the situation escalated. Dispatch updated the call to an assault with a deadly weapon after the reporting party stated that the suspect had just swung a knife toward him. The suspect was described as a male Hispanic, later identified as 29-year-old Joshua Castaneda from the city of Tujunga. When deputies reached the intersection, they quickly located Castaneda. He was standing in the roadway, armed with a knife in each hand. The sight of two edged weapons immediately elevated the danger level of the encounter. Deputies took positions at a safe distance while issuing loud, clear commands for Castaneda to drop the knives and surrender. These instructions were repeated multiple times, giving him every opportunity to comply. Despite the commands, Castaneda refused. Instead, his posture became more aggressive. Both of his hands remained raised, each holding a knife in what deputies recognized as a striking position. While maintaining this stance, he began shouting at the deputies, insisting that they shoot him. This indicated a potential suicide by cop scenario, a situation where a person provokes law enforcement into using deadly force. Hoping to end the situation safely, deputies transitioned to less lethal options. A taser was deployed toward Castaneda in an effort to incapacitate him and prevent further danger. However, the taser had no effect. Castaneda remained standing, still holding both knives, and continued demanding that deputies shoot and kill him. The deputies kept their distance while increasing their verbal commands, making it clear that they wanted him to drop the weapons. But Castaneda did not change his behavior. The encounter quickly became a standoff in the middle of a busy intersection, with the armed suspect refusing all verbal instructions and maintaining an aggressive stance despite multiple attempts to de-escalate. At this point, deputies had exhausted early attempts to resolve the situation peacefully. Castaneda's refusal to comply, combined with his armed posture and verbal demands for deputies to kill him, set the stage for a rapidly escalating confrontation that would unfold over the next moments. As the standoff continued, Castaneda escalated the situation further. Still holding a knife in each hand, he began advancing toward one of the deputies. The deputy attempted to maintain distance, walking backward to avoid a close-quarters knife assault. Deputies continued shouting commands for Castaneda to drop the weapons, but he showed no intention of complying. Instead, he advanced slowly and deliberately, with both arms raised, maintaining the same threatening posture. Given that Castaneda was armed with two edged weapons, distance was one of the deputies' only safety tools. A knife-wielding suspect can inflict life-threatening injuries within seconds if allowed to get close. Despite this, deputies continued backing away to create space, using time and distance as a primary tactic while repeating commands to drop the knives. Castaneda ignored every order. Rather than stopping, he continued moving toward the deputies, closing the distance one step at a time. The threat level increased significantly as he refused all verbal instructions, resisted less lethal attempts, and maintained control of both weapons. Deputies again attempted to calm him through repeated commands, but his actions signaled an unwillingness to surrender. It became clear that Castaneda's behavior aligned with his earlier demands, that deputies shoot him. His refusal to drop the knives, combined with his steady advance, created an imminent threat. The deputies faced a rapidly narrowing window to prevent a fatal assault. At this point, a deputy-involved shooting occurred. Deputies fired at Castaneda to stop his forward movement and eliminate the immediate danger. Castaneda was struck by gunfire and fell to the ground, ending the threat. Once he was down, deputies immediately shifted from force to control and aid. They ordered Castaneda to relinquish possession of the knives while he was on the ground. This time, he complied. Deputies approached with caution, ensuring the weapons were secured before making contact. With the knives recovered and the scene safe, deputies immediately began rendering first aid. They applied medical assistance while awaiting the arrival of Los Angeles County Fire Department personnel. Castaneda had sustained several gunshot wounds to his upper torso, and deputies worked quickly to stabilize him. Even in situations involving deadly force, deputies are trained to provide life-saving care as soon as the threat is neutralized. A protocol followed precisely in this case. As deputies continued providing emergency medical care, additional first responders began arriving at the scene. Moments later, personnel from the Los Angeles County Fire Department reached the intersection and quickly assumed responsibility for treating Castaneda. Deputies briefed them on his injuries, the number of gunshot wounds, and the initial life-saving steps already taken. Fire department medics worked methodically, stabilizing him while ensuring his airway, breathing, and circulation remained intact. Once secured on a gurney, Castaneda was transported by ambulance to a nearby hospital for further medical attention. Despite having sustained multiple gunshot wounds during the confrontation, doctors later determined that his injuries were not life-threatening. He was admitted for treatment and remained under close medical supervision, ensuring that no complications developed in the hours that followed. Meanwhile, at the intersection where the confrontation unfolded, deputies shifted their focus to securing the scene to preserve evidence. The area, which had moments earlier been filled with shouting, commands, and rapid movement, was transformed into an active investigative zone. Yellow crime tape was placed around the perimeter as additional units arrived to assist with scene management. Traffic was diverted, and bystanders were moved back to maintain safety and prevent contamination of potential evidence. Investigators began documenting the positions of the knives, the shell casings, and the exact locations of the deputies involved at the moment shots were fired. Their goal was to reconstruct the sequence of events in precise detail. The two weapons Castaneda possessed were located quickly and secured according to standard protocol. The first was a large kitchen knife, its blade measuring roughly 10 inches. Its size alone indicated the serious threat it posed during the encounter. The second weapon, a switchblade found in the open position with an approximate 4-inch blade, was photographed exactly where it lay before being collected. Both knives were then logged as evidence and packaged in accordance with department procedures. Their size, sharpness, and the fact that both had been actively wielded during the confrontation further reinforced the lethal potential Castaneda presented to deputies and the public. In addition to the physical evidence recovered at the scene, investigators reviewed body-worn camera footage from the involved deputies. The recordings captured every critical moment. The deputies repeated verbal commands instructing Castaneda to drop the knives, the failed taser deployment, Castaneda's aggressive movement toward deputies, and his repeated statements demanding that they kill him. The footage also clearly documented his continued advance even as deputies backed away, attempting to create distance. These recordings provided a definitive, chronological account that supported the statements given by deputies and matched the accounts provided by witnesses who observed the encounter from nearby. While investigators worked, deputies at the scene were evaluated to ensure none had sustained injuries during the confrontation. Despite Castaneda's aggressive advance with both knives raised, no deputies were harmed. Their rapid and coordinated response prevented the situation from escalating further. The caller who initially reported the assault was also assessed. He had stated that Castaneda had swung a knife at him during the encounter that prompted the 911 call. Fortunately, he too sustained no injuries, largely due to deputies intervening before Castaneda could close the distance or resume his attack. Once the scene was fully processed, the knives collected, shell casings mapped, photos taken, and all evidence secured, the intersection was gradually reopened to the public. Traffic flowed once more through the area, though the events of the encounter remained fresh in the minds of nearby residents and those who had witnessed the rapid series of events. The investigation ultimately confirmed that deputies had used multiple de-escalation tactics prior to resorting to lethal force. They issued clear verbal commands, attempted to maintain distance, and deployed a less lethal taser, all before the shooting took place. The taser deployment, however, was ineffective, and Castaneda's behavior continued to escalate. Even as he held 2 knives and advanced toward deputies, he repeatedly demanded that they kill him, giving investigators insight into his intent during the confrontation. Only when he continued closing distance, ignored every command, and maintained both weapons in raised, threatening positions did deputies fire to stop the threat.